It's Aiden here. Today I want to talk to you about one of the biggest challenges with prospecting, with growing, with getting leads, with converting those leads is having a system or a process in place. And once you have a system or a framework or a process or a map uh, it guides you to a planned destination, that's where things really start to change. And that's where things really started to change for me when I got into sales. When I first started, it was like throwing spaghetti against the wall. I really didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to sell. We had an array of products. And I basically was just hoping they would say to me, hey, I have this problem. I have that problem. Once I recognized and got a process, and specifically I learned spin selling by Neil Rackham, which was situation problem, implication need payoff. I didn't even really focus on the IN, just the SP for spin, right? So I would go, oh, the situation. I would give me something to talk about. How many employees do you have? How many locations do you have? Right. With the internet and stuff now, I don't need to ask those type of questions as much. But what I do is identify the problem, right, and the outcomes and the concerns they have. So that really helped. And so in my progression, I have created some frameworks that have worked great for me. And that's what I'm going to share with you today. Now, what I want to talk to you about today is the framework that I've created called the Perfect Prospecting Framework. Now, a framework is a map or a blueprint, a process, a strategy, a system. But there's four primary ways to create leads and to prospect. And so what we want to do is we want to identify the best system to do that, have a system for that, and then have a process that feeds your leads into your pipeline, and then it processes and creates a ready, sales ready buyer. And of course, then it takes a different skill set to convert that buyer into a customer. So it's a process where we look at marketing at one to many, really. And then as the people feed through the funnel, we go one to one, where sales really gets involved. And that's why I really advocate that right now in today's technology, with all the tools and stuff available, we don't need salespeople to prospect. Prospecting is a marketing activity. It is something that can easily be done on the inside. And having an inside salesperson, a customer service rep, whatever, to do the prospecting, allowing your salespeople to alleviate 33% of their responsibility, which they have a hard time doing anyhow because they're focused on closing business and maintaining existing customers and putting out fires. And when you think of the sales process, it's really lead generation, prospecting, closing, expanding accounts, maintaining accounts. So let's look at how we can reduce salespeople's time and their responsibility by as much as 33%. And let's have technology, processes, blueprints, and frameworks do that for us. So the perfect prospecting process consists of four primary activities. Now, the first one, the low-hanging fruit one, the one I want to talk to right now, right here, is awareness, right? Customers, prospects that are already aware of you. Okay. Now, what I mean by that is these are people that are already connected to you. They're in your email database. They have a connection with you. Maybe they're a past customer. Maybe they're a current customer that's really low on the purchasing with you. Maybe they just buy things now and again. Maybe you're just connected with them on LinkedIn, on Facebook, what have you. They know who you are. The nice thing about these is this is your low-hanging fruit. This is the one that, when you start off in sales, when I started off in sales and they would give me a customer list, it was always better to have a customer list, even if the list was 100 accounts and 20 accounts did some business and the other ones were zeros. What it did is it allowed me to have a conversation and phone and say, "Hi, I'm Aiden. I'm your new sales rep." Oh yeah, right. It was a warm call. It was a warm outreach. And so that's your low-hanging fruit. These are people who are easy to get a hold of in the sense that they will probably return your call. They'll probably return your email. You have some type of connection with them. There's some commonality. They're part of your community. And that's what we want to focus on. So that is a processes and things that we can do that we can easily reactivate these people, get them back into the fold fairly quickly. And using lead flows, which is what we're going to talk about over the next coming week, which is what we need to do. We need to implement lead flows. The perfect prospecting framework is based on lead flows. Now, what's a lead flow? A lead flow is a digital, like having a digital salesperson that does everything a salesperson would do. What would a salesperson do? A salesperson would create a list of contacts. Now, we can do that with very minimal human effort, right? But we need a human a little bit to get the leads, get the contacts. Once that happens, we can put them into the system, and lead flows will automatically email, SMS, and voice drop those prospects. It'll tell us if they open it up. It gives a digital fingerprint. So a lead flow is critical to top of the funnel prospecting because we can do it and alleviate the salesperson's time and effort that they have spent. 33% of their efforts on prospecting can now be offset, or a lot of portion of it can be, and they can focus their time on closing business and expanding business. So awareness. Using lead flows to activate, reactivate customers. Let's look at that. We're going to look at that in the coming weeks in a much deeper, deep dive. Now, the second one is customers that are unaware of you, right? This is your traditional cold calling, your cold outreach. These people are people that are simply names only. You have their names, their LinkedIn URLs, their phone numbers, their emails. That's all easy to get. What's not easy to get is make them a warm connection. People don't like talking to strangers. People just have a natural guard up with people they don't know. So if you reach out to them, it's a lot harder to get in front of them compared to customers that are aware of you or part of your community. These people don't know who you are. They don't know your intentions. They're busy with something else, and they're focused on their connections, not creating new connections. And so that's where the challenge comes for us as lead generators, is how can we activate and get in front of these people? And the answer is time. Time is what's required with these people. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, you wouldn't walk into a bar, look around, find someone that you think is attractive, and walk up to them and say, do you want to get married? And logically expect them to say yes. But does it happen? Yes, of course it happens. But good things don't usually come about with that. What happens is that you create awareness because they're unaware of you. And then you follow up, you court, you talk, you engage, you provide value over an undefined period of time. Each person is going to be different. And so you come from them being unaware of you to aware of you, to where they're very familiar with you, as Jeb Blunt calls it the law of familiarity in his book, Fanatical Prospecting. And it's a great law, the law of familiarity. We all are guilty of it, or we all use it. So what do I mean by the law of familiarity? Well, let's just use a one that everyone can relate to. Picture you going to your local grocery store, your local corner store. The first time you went in, you didn't even know what the aisles looked like. You didn't know anything. You just walked in, and the person's busy dealing with a customer behind the counter. You look around and say, hey, where's your milk and what have you, right? You're not familiar with the place. They don't know you. But after you start going there, after a few times, each person's different. But the person behind the counter starts to say, oh, hey, how you doing, right? Finally, to a point where if they saw you at the movie theater, if they saw you in a restaurant or in another location, they would at least give you the old nod. Hey, how you doing? Right? Because they're familiar with you. And if you walked up to them and said, hey, can I ask you a question? They wouldn't go, oh, sure, right? Because they're familiar with you. There's the level of trust, and nothing has changed but time, and they have seen you or engaged with you a number of times throughout that. It doesn't even have to be quality time. It just has to be a number of times. They now they recognize you as part of their community. And so that is what we need to do. We need to recognize that lead generation is not wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. It's just not. All right. Lead generation is courtship. Lead generation is adding value, continue to add value. It is turning the other cheek if they slap you. It's recognizing that you have a job to do to create a connection, and thankfully that can be done with a lot of technology now. But it's still a one-to-one activity, because once there is awareness created, once there is a response, they've opened up the email, they've replied to it, they've watched the video, what have you. Now you go from your wide net to a one-to-one, more engaged conversation. So we have people that are aware, we have people that are unaware. Now the next one is we move into where we can kind of cast a wider net, is we go into marketing, as in social media marketing, right? And this is a lot of people call organic reach, meaning that the process is slow. When we're talking about social media marketing, you can do things to try to speed it up. You can try to do things to cast a wider net and get more connections. But at the end of the day, when you post something to social media, the people that are connected to you, they see your content, they see your videos, they see what you do. But people that don't know you don't. So it has its limitations because there's slow growth. However, it's still an opportunity to expand. It's still an opportunity to make people aware of you, right? Because you connect with them, and then they might start to see your stuff. They might say, "Oh, that's what this person's about." Okay, and even though they're aware of you, they're in your community. You can start to expand the community. You can start to provide more value. Now, the downside of it is that it's slow growth, right? You're not going to get a lot of leads and that right away. It's going to take time. And what you need is to create great value. And then someone says, "Hey, you should check out this Aiden guy. Hey, you should check out this perfect prospecting process. Hey, you should check out this. You should check out that." And maybe they share it. Maybe they send the link and what have you. But it's slow. But it's free, or relatively free. It just takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. But you can get there with social media marketing. Now, the fourth piece is when we go from marketing to advertising, specifically paid advertising, right? This is your fastest growth. There's so many people that have made millions and hundreds of millions of dollars and grown their businesses and their companies very fast by being experts at advertising. Paid advertising, Facebook ads, Google ads, things of this nature, right? We know that being so unaware, when someone is unaware of you, that is the biggest challenge. We need them to be aware of us. We need to attract them. We need to get attention, right? And by advertising, we can put ourselves in front of our ideal prospect inside of maybe 20, 30 minutes from now. By doing a Facebook ad or a Google ad, we can then sit back and say, okay, we want to target facility managers in the state of Washington with these zip codes that make about $150,000 plus a year, as an example, and we can be in front of them very, very quickly. Now we're going to pay for that speed of time. We're going to pay for that. And we're going to pay for that in cost of ads and cost per clicks. And the thing is they click our ad and we don't have a process in place. They might do something, but we need to capture them. We need to get their information. And so when we have these four aspects in place, then we have a perfect prospecting framework. We have the process in place and we're capitalizing on all four. Unfortunately, Many of us only focus on one or possibly two of the four. And the reason for that is we gravitate to what we know. So an older guy like me, I'm more familiar with the cold outreach. That's the unawareness, making cold calls, picking up the phone. That's what I was born into. That's what I was raised with, because there was no social media marketing. There was no email when I first started. In fact, when I first started, in the first year or two, I was calling in once or twice a day, stopping at a payphone. So the younger generation is going to be really, really good at the ads, and they might be very, very afraid and very timid and very shy to pick up the phone. For someone older, might be more comfortable picking up the phone and unaware on what to do with the ads. But it doesn't mean that all don't work. It means that we gravitate to what we've been born into, to what we know. So when we recognize that our way is not the only way, that we have four primary ways to get leads, then we can measure ourselves by these four activities, by these four tactics, and what do we have and what are we doing to capitalize on that. So once we have the four pieces in place, what we want to do is we want to recognize that we have the four tactics in place. We have a process for those that are aware of us. We have a process for people that are unaware of. We have a process for social media marketing. We have a process for advertising, for paid ads, right? We have those four. And what we're going to do when we do that is we're trying to attract traffic. We're trying to attract eyeballs. We're trying to get awareness. All right. Even those that are aware of us, we want to get them more aware of us. We want to get them into our community. We want to get them into our funnel. And so we're trying to attract them. But when we attract them, we need to have a plan. What are we going to do? And so what we want to do is we want to lead them to some type of technology. We want to lead them to some type of program, CRM, whatever it might be, that's going to help do this for you. Because it's almost impossible to have your salespeople or you yourself as a salesperson to do all this. There's too many moving parts. And if you get sidetracked, if you call away, what are you to do? So what we want to do is we want to create awareness using the four primary processes, tactics: unaware, aware, marketing, and advertising. We want to use those platforms to create awareness. But when someone clicks it, when someone responds, what have you, let's capture that. Let's capture that lead. Now, once we capture that lead, let's equate this to something everybody understands, and that's dating. So everyone has dated at some point in their life. So capturing a lead is simply having someone that has maybe said hi to you. They've said hi. You said, hey, maybe you've shared a name. That's it. At that point, what are you going to do? So many salespeople act like as if they're just going to say, hey, do you want to get married? And that person's going to say, sure, let's go get married. And that doesn't happen too often. And then when it does happen, it doesn't usually end well. There's always exceptions to every rule. So we capture those leads. We need to invest time, effort, and that is in the ways of content, of videos, of possibly meetings, conversations, what have you, text messages, emails, phone calls, webinars, what have you. All these different ways to nurture. A word I like even better is develop. To develop the prospect, develop the lead, right? We've captured their information by our marketing efforts, by our lead generation efforts. We've captured them, and now we're nurturing them. Now we're going on a coffee date, and then maybe we upgrade to a dinner date, and then we maybe upgrade to a picnic. You get the process, right? It's a courtship. And how long until you get married? Some people get married a few days later. Some people get married a few months later. Some people get married a year or two later. So it's when both people are ready. And you can't force it. If you try to force it, someone gets their back up and then you ruin the whole relationship. So it's a courtship when both are ready. And you can't really dictate when that's going to happen. And so many people think, oh, I want you to phone and get me leads. And, oh, it's a week. I don't have any leads yet. Well, what the hell do you think? Like, wake up. Are you, honestly, it's exasperating, because this is what they expect. You need to invest time, effort, and add value to the process if you want to get growth. And it means having a process and committing to that process and doing it over and over and over and over and over again. And so you need to nurture. The next process is, let's identify who is sales ready. Meaning, based on their behavior, are they opening up the emails? Are they opening up text messages? Are they watching videos you're sending? Are they reading articles? Have they signed up for a webinar? Have they downloaded an ebook? What have they done? But as they do more things, then you can identify them as somebody that is probably in at least the consideration stage. They're considering you, they're aware of you, and that's when you can start to get involved and say, okay, this person seems sales ready. I'm going to spend the time in reaching out to them on a more one-to-one basis. I'm going to reach out to them and say and phone them. And if I get their voicemail, say, hey, I noticed you watched the video. Want to see if you found it of value. I actually have a guide that supports it. I'd like to send it to you. Can you call me back? What have you? Have some type of process in place to move that relationship closer. And again, we can't force this. And so many salespeople think they can force this. So many business owners think they can force this. It's like, oh, I need you to pick up the phone and phone me leads. I need great leads. Well, go do it yourself. And it's not working, is it? No, it's not. That's why you have come to us. That's why you are using these systems. So let's allow lead flows and technology to offset the work involved. So now they're sales ready. Okay. So what are we going to do? We're going to have a meeting, ideally, and we're going to convert them to a customer, right? So there's a whole process for that as well. The type of questions, your strategy when you have a one-to-one meeting with them. I hope you have a strategy, you have a process. If not, I'm going to get into that in the coming weeks with the sales form and the 5 pillars. We're going to look at how do we move that, how do we convert them faster? What can we do? And so do we have a process? We want to create leads and we want to convert leads, right? We want to create leads and we want to convert them. That's the job we want to do. Create, convert, create, convert. So it doesn't sound complicated, but it's not easy. We have to have a process in place, and we all have to allow the process to work, because there's too many moving parts to expect someone to do it themselves while they're then closing customers and putting out fires and everything else. There's a lot of expectations on a salesperson. So attract, capture, nurture, identify, convert, have them become a customer. And finally, what is your journey of transformation? What upsells do you have? Where are you trying to lead them to? What is the perfect process for them? So if we take it from let's say it's a process like we have at LeadFree. We want to get someone into the incubator. We want them to see the value and how they can ease up their life, right? How this can help them 5x, 10x their activities. It can make them look like they have 5-6 salespeople working for them. It can do all that. So we want to get them in the incubator. But we want to also be able to take them up so that we can have a thing from a do-it-yourself to a potentially do it for you, right? So what are the upsells? What are the different things you have that take them on a journey to where they ideally get to the top of that mountain? Now, some people are never going to want to get there. They come into the incubator. They're good with that level. They're good with it. There's always that 80-20 rule, right? So, the 80-20 rule is great. If you haven't read Perry Marshall's 80-20 Sales and Marketing, I highly recommend you do. He talks about the fact of that, you have 100 customers, 80 are going to stay on level 1, as an example. But 16% are going to do 4 times more than those 80. Okay, 16 will do 4 times more than those 80. And 4 people will do 16 times more than all the rest. However, you have to have a upsell. You have to have a graduation. You have to have a good, better, best process. You take someone like me. I hate not having all of the access to something. Let's say it's an online program. I hate not having access to everything, even though I don't even use some of it. It's just me and who I am, where other people say, I don't need all that. So we want to make that available, because if you don't have it available, then they can't grow with you and they can't transform. So this is the perfect prospecting process. And then there's steps inside of each one that we can do to help create that value, help move that prospect along on their terms. There's no forcing anything. It's not going to happen. You can't force it. It's just like, someone calls you and they're being pushy on the phone. What can you do? Click. You hang up, you block the number, or the call display comes up, you don't answer it, right? Like the power, they have the power. We're not going to force them. We're not holding information that they can't get. When I first started in selling in the early 90s, a buyer only had me as the option, maybe 1 or 2 other people. What do I mean by that? Means if they wanted this blue pen, they didn't have the internet to look for it. They relied on me. And so I said, I got this blue pen. You can only get it through me. And maybe someone else could have had it, but they would have had a hard time finding it, right? So I say, this pen's $10. You get it now, or it's going up to 20 next month. Okay, I'll get it, right? You can force that situation. Nowadays, you couldn't do that. Nowadays, they say, as long as I know the name of it, I can go to Amazon and get it cheaper and faster than you could probably even bring it in for me. So we need to add value, and that customer will reward us by giving us their business, giving us their trust. So we're going to provide value to them until they're ready to purchase. We can nudge them, but we can't force them. Hope you found this of value, and stay tuned for the coming weeks, the coming episodes, as we dive deeper into each of these 5 primary tactics, 5 primary steps. I'm Aiden. I'll see you next time.